with ruffed grouse, the males are larger than the females. Their tails are longer, they weigh more, and there's a couple characteristics of their feathers that you can look at to tell the males from the females. Now, one is length of tail. The males have a longer tail, but a really easy way is you look at the rump feathers, and if you look, and the rump feathers are basic right at the at the base of the tail, the lower back at the base of the tail. And if you take a rump feather and you pull one out, and I'm just gonna, there we go. So that rump feather has two light or white dots. 1, 2, okay? That's a male. A female only has one, and we have a female over here. And here's the female, and you notice that her tail does look a little bit shorter. Okay, and we're gonna look at a rump feather here. Let's pull one out. Take a feather, any feather. Okay, there's one, just one light dot. I mean, if you look at any of them, it's one light dot on the females. So that's a great way to determine the sex of the bird. Now, if you look at the tail fan, okay, and this tail fan is definitely, it's a shorter one than the male. But you also notice on this one that the central tail feathers, the couple of the central tail feathers don't have that dark band. Okay, well that's typical of females, but also it's typical of a lot of the male grouse. So that's not a good characteristic to go by, because a lot of the males will have that, what they call an interrupted band on the tail. Okay. So what we really look for is the number of white dots, the female having one, the males having two. Okay, so that's, and also you'll notice just the variation in plumages. I only have 3 birds here, but this nice brown fan versus this gray fan, and there's this male here was another gray one. Okay, and also you'll get variation in the color of the band itself. Notice how that's sort of a chocolate band here versus a black band on these other 2 birds. Okay, and also usually the ruff, where the grouse gets its name, has a corresponding, the color is typically the same as the color on the band. So the ruff, these dark neck feathers here, this is the male ruff, and you notice how it's that chocolate brown as well. And female, typically she's got a smaller ruff. We'll get her over here, and she's got a black ruff, and that corresponds to the black tail band that she has. Okay, let's see what this juvenile has. This juvenile male here, we haven't gone over juvenile and adults, but he's got the typical larger male ruff, and it's black, and it matches up with his tail band as well. Now, I mentioned that this is a juvenile bird, and this is an adult bird, and you tell the juveniles from adults. You look at the last 2 flight feathers, the outer 2 most on the bird, and you compare those to the rest of the flight feathers. And so basically these 2 here, number 2 and number 3 from going in, you can see the contrast there. And now what you have here is that when a chick is hatched and grows, the feathers grow throughout the summer, and that chick is going to replace those wing feathers. They're going to wear out, and that chick is going to replace all of the wing feathers, all of these except the last 2 by the time you go hunting in the fall. these last outermost two are going to be retained, and so these other wing feathers are going to be nice and show very little wear, fairly rounded tips, whereas these last two will be a little bit rattier, very sharper looking, rattier, more worn. These last two are certainly sharper looking on the tips than these other ones. Now an adult bird, an adult is going to replace all of the wing feathers during the summer. And so, let me see here. Actually, that's a juvenile. So here we have an adult bird, and all of the wing feathers, including these last two. Let's see if I can make them show up a little bit better here. Including these last two are new. Okay, so they're not sharp and worn. They're rounded and with showing less wear. Let's see if we can get them side by side here to show. This is a little bit trickier than the determining the sex of the bird, but it's not too bad. And you'll notice the bird on your left has these sharper points on those outermost two wing feathers, where the bird on your right has more rounded wing feathers, and the bird on your right being the adult bird. We do have at the Ruffed Grouse Society, American Woodcock Society, a bird in the hand field guide for ruffed grouse, for determining the age and the sex of a ruffed grouse that you may have in the hand. And in addition, it'll cover everything that I just covered, plus a little bit more about the ecology of the bird. It'll have, how to determine by the length of the tail feathers, by the number of dots on the rump feathers. So it has all the techniques that we just talked about, plus a little bit more on the ecology and management of the birds, as well as the different color phases you may find of birds that you bag. And so that's available online at the Ruffed Grouse Society.